Welcome in, guys, into my Cincinnati Bengals 2025 season recap. Um, looking at this, going into 2025, you look at the expectations of the Bengals last couple of years, and since that 2021 Super Bowl run they haven't made the playoffs since 2022. So there has been a couple of years now, and they're kind of getting into that territory of like the old Cincinnati, the old Bengals. Uh, so the Bengals in 2025 finished the regular season 6-11. Joe Burrow got injured, and ultimately Joe Flacco had to step up. They had to sign Joe Flacco because he got the Browns, and they needed a quarterback. Um, and you look at the signings that they require, like Lucas Patrick. When they need a couple of stars on the offensive line, they thought Lucas Patrick was the best option. Uh, Joe Giles Harrison from the Jags, the linebacker. Noah Fant at tight end. Uh, Oran Burks. And it's, you know, they thought that this was the best defensive tackle. You've got Terrell Slayton, defensive tackle. Jamar Gibbs again. He got paid. The man got paid. He got paid. Dragons got paid 4 years for $161 million. But then you look at the draft here. I wasn't impressed with the draft really. I thought that the options that they addressed. I know defensively they needed additions in defense, absolutely, but Shamar Stewart wasn't really pulling up trees. Demarius Knight, a linebacker, South Carolina. Dylan Fairchild at guard again. You're addressing that position, but I guess it was an okay addition from Dylan Fairchild from Georgia. Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson, and then Jalen Rivera, guard from Miami, and Tyler Brooks, running back from Georgia, from Texas Tech. And then they did trade away a pick from the Bears. And then you really look at Cincinnati, Chase Brown had 17 touchdowns, over 1,000 rushing yards. He had a really good year. And then you look at this Bengals schedule. You look at the Bengals schedule. They were 2-0, and you're thinking about when he gets 2-0, they got a good road win against the Browns. They got a good home win against Jacksonville. You're looking at this team and thinking, wow, they're actually doing pretty well here, going 2-0, and then they lose to Minnesota on the road. They lose to Denver on the road, and then lose at home to Detroit. Lose at to the Packers at home. Beat the Steelers by 3 points. Then defeats, especially against the Jets, who were a scrub-ass team. Then defeats to the Bears. They had a after week 10. They had a bye week in week. The bye week was week 10. So you go from week 11, losing on the road to Pittsburgh, lost to Green Patriots, losing on the road, beating the Ravens on the road. So they beat the Ravens back to back, beating the Dolphins 44, and then beating the Cardinals, and then losing to the Browns in the last week. But Zach Taylor is kind of still there, living after 2021 glory. Going into the kind of points for the 12th best offense in the league out of 32. And again, you should be getting a lot more out of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Chase Brown. But it's just be the 12th best offense in the league. Yeah. It's not good at all. Then you're looking at points against. They were third last. They were third last in the league they had the third best. They had the third worst defense in the league, 30 out of 32. Their defense needs to be addressed. Again, the additions that they had in this offseason weren't addressed fully, and I think ultimately, if you're a Bengals fan, you're looking at this going, we have an elite level talent in a Joe Burrow. We have all these other weapons. We have Jamar Chase on a big contract. We have Chase Brown, but we're consistently not making the playoffs. We have the 12th best offense in the league, the 30th best defense in the league. Something's got to change, and ultimately that change has got to be Zach Taylor's got to move on. I did a video about this, talking about it death threat before Christmas, or just during Christmas, and talks about it. And I stand by the points I said in that video. We'll link it in this video. But you got to go into 2026, and Zach Taylor's on the hot seat. Absolutely, like he cannot be going into 2026 with a free pass. He's got to be on the hot seat. And I would have moved him on after this season, but they're going to keep him for another year. But if I'm looking at this, man, Zach Taylor, your seat's nuclear red hot going into 2026, and you don't want to look back at this in a couple of years and you're wasting some of Joe Burrow's best years being just like third in division, winning 6 games. Like, you won 6 all year. Bengals, they do have a first round pick overall, 10th overall. They have a second round pick, 41st. They have a third round pick, 72nd overall. They have a fourth round pick, 110th, and then a sixth round pick. Then they could have a 7th round pick. It depends on what they kind of do here. But yeah, they just really stink. They just stunk up the place, and it just shows that there's something going really terribly wrong here in Cincinnati. But yeah, they need to till they fix the offensive line and the defense. They're gonna have the same old Bengals, where they're gonna be the old Bengals of old, where they was winning like 4 or 5 games and then just doing nothing really after that. And that's kind of sad when you look at, you have a Joe Burrow. I know he's had his injuries recently, but